What do you get from watching thousands of hours of spiritual videos and content? Well, I've thought about this for a little bit and I'm going to share with you some insights. The first one is you begin to understand spirituality pretty well conceptually. So you conceptually, you kind of start to get it. For example, here are some concepts that you will become familiar with. And, this will become part of your vocabulary. So you'll start to use these words. Words such as no self, ego death, love, consciousness, God, non-duality, and so on. The thing is, every time you use one of these words, man, you're conscious, at least part of you is, your inner wisdom is conscious that you're just using a pointer, right? So it's not the thing. When you say consciousness, fuck, that's a bad example because everything's consciousness. But just for the sake of explaining it, man, let's say you use a word like presence. That's a popular one. Use the word presence and you can start to tell presence is a word, right? It's like a sound that comes out your mouth. That word, that mouth noise, it points to an experience of being very present. And what you're doing in this like early stage is you're like building your vocabulary of these words that point to things and point to experiences. You're building these up, you're gathering them, you're accumulating all these words and pointers and stuff. And this is good. You want these. You want to have like at least the word or the pointer. But at the same time, as you're learning these, you're also kind of trying to unlearn them at the same time. Because you see, at least you can sense, again, your inner wisdom can tell the word is not the experience. You can have the experience, but the word is the word. The word Australia is a word. And then you can go and fly out to Australia and you can share how that was. Two different things, word, experience. So this is where you start. You start by building up your conceptual understanding. You get a load of concepts. You get a load of words. This is good. This is healthy. It means you have a generally good base of knowledge of spirituality. However, depending on how intuitive you are, I definitely got this, man. You get this feeling like not only are you learning concepts about something, which obviously isn't it, but like this thing that you've stumbled upon, spirituality, oh dude, it's like nothing else. Like you can tell intuitively that the thing that the word points to is so far beyond you, it's almost intimidating. You're like, oh man, I'm messing with the universe right now. And so this is where some people like to kind of stay watching videos, staying in that conceptual level, because they can kind of tell that their ego would be breaking down if they were to go any further. And so you've got to watch out for that trap. You don't want to be staying at that conceptual level. You don't want to just be endlessly watching and listening to spiritual videos. It's going to do something for you, man, but it's not going to do the real thing. And speaking of the real thing, what will happen is this. So the next thing that will happen is you will start to develop a hunger for the real thing, for a direct experience. So you've been listening to Rupert Spira, you've been listening to Eckhart Tolle, you've been listening to Ram Dass, you've been listening to Mooji, you've been listening to all these dudes and people and spiritual teachers, and you're like, I'm getting glimpses, I'm getting little peeks into myself, into my true nature. Like when they say certain words, that produces a certain experience in me. This is what happens. It's a feeling of understanding. Some people call this insight. So, to be fair, the thing with listening to spiritual videos and content a lot is you do develop a lot of insight. So, you get these insights, and what you do ideally on your own is you meditate and you contemplate. So you take these insights, you take them into your own practice and you take them further. Sometimes, though, you wouldn't have these insights unless you'd heard them from, Rupert Spira. At the same time, if you're very honest with yourself, you're very far off. You're not hitting the mark. It's like, it's so not it. But it's getting there, but it's just not it, though. So you will develop a hunger for the real thing. So basically what happens is your intuition tells you, dude, it goes way deeper. Okay, way deeper than you think. And what's being pointed at? Yes, you can listen to these spiritual teachers. Yes, you can have insights. Yes, you can feel intuitive and you can like have some degree of awakening. But part of you will be like, no, you don't understand, dude. It goes so much deeper. And so this is where, again, talk about that like hunger and that dissatisfaction with listening to insights. You will develop a desire to have a mystical experience. You basically want a direct experience of higher consciousness. And dude, when you have this for the first time, man, it knocks you off your feet. Okay, it really, it depends on, like how deep of an experience you have, but it's like, oh my God, it's true. It does go deeper than just the insights from spiritual teachers. Pretty much, man, until you have this, until you have an experience like this, you won't be satisfied, because you want yourself. You want God. You want higher consciousness. You do not want just some words or some ideas, and you don't just want satsang, just sitting there listening. No, man, you want to realize you are God, okay? And I know this video is technically doing the same kind of thing. It's giving you more ideas, but genuinely, don't be satisfied. Don't be settled until you are having a more spiritual experience, or until you've had breakthrough mystical experiences. We can talk about how to have those in the future more, but you just don't want to be that person who's just endlessly watching non-duality videos and thinking that they're like, that's it. And, maybe they have non-duality friends. They're like, oh, we love non-duality. Like, great. But do you want to play the non-duality game, or do you want to awaken? Like, which one? So one thing you might do now is you might actually open up your mind, and you might start listening to other spiritual teachers. So it can be kind of threatening if you listen to some other spiritual teachers, because they'll say things that are nuanced, or they'll say things that not necessarily contradict the other ones, but will give a different perspective, or it will show a different facet on the diamond. And for the people who don't want to interconnect all the dots, and who are satisfied with just, a smaller spiritual understanding, quite a basic spiritual understanding, this could be quite threatening. So they'll just stick to their favorite few teachers. And what's interesting, man, is this is a trap. So you might find yourself just in an echo chamber of the same kind of non-dual spiritual insights. And unfortunately, what happens here is you lock yourself into a little prison of small thinking and small spirituality. You want to have width of insight and depth of insight. You don't want to stop at any point with something. And when I was in this stage, I wouldn't admit it, but really all that's happening when you listen to a spiritual teacher is you just get your spiritual intuition stimulated for 10 or 20 minutes, but you're not actually making any progress if you're not contemplating other things and other insights and other facets of the diamond. You want to, if you want to awaken, man, you've got to interconnect a lot of stuff, a lot of different perspectives. And obviously awakening is complex and infinite. So you've got to be listening to more than one or two spiritual teachers. So what happens now is, yes, you're listening to other spiritual teachers. And this is great. You know why? Because you're understanding how sometimes they're speaking about the same truth, but using different words. But other times they're speaking about slightly different things, another slightly different facet of the diamond. And what this does is it opens your mind, and it gives you new possibilities. And what may happen is you may be listening to a different teacher, and they may be speaking to an insight or an awakening that you've already opened up. And so when they speak about it, wow, I've been here before, but I'm hearing a new articulation of it. So I'm hearing different words talk about the same kind of thing. And this gets you kind of curious, man. You'll start to think, okay, cool. Well, whose understanding of this little pot or of awakening goes the deepest? Who has the greatest depth of understanding when it comes to this stuff? I'm curious now. And so if you're genuinely curious, man, what you might do is you might actually play spiritual teachers off of each other in an attempt to really gain the understanding. And yes, the teacher, they can't give it to you, even if they say it, that's not it. But what's interesting is hearing it enough, does it start to land? And then when you have awakenings, or when you have deep experiences or insights, you kind of revisit that. It's laid such an awesome groundwork for you that when you have your experiences, you're like, oh wait, but I've totally gone here conceptually. Now I'm just going to use this as a springboard into higher consciousness, and I'm doing it from the best possible platform. And then what may happen next is, you've gone wide, you've listened to a lot of different teachers and different perspectives. Now you might go narrow again, and you might go deep. So you might listen to one or two people or one or two schools that really speak to you, really resonate with you, and you might go a lot deeper with just one or two of these. The next stage that you'll probably experience is you realize, oh crap, I've got to do a lot of work. So you realize I've got to use everything I've heard, and I've actually got to exercise my consciousness. So you've got to do the work. You've got to put in the meditation, the contemplation. You've got to do a bunch of introspection, a lot of inner work, a lot of consciousness work to interconnect all of this stuff and gain this good understanding. And so what might happen is you might actually take some time off or away from, listening to content or listening to audios or listening to teachers or whatever. And you might just sit with literally one or two or three insights. And what this can mean, man, is you actually literally watch one video, let's say it's like the insight or awakening that you're trying to have. You might watch that video, I'm not kidding, man, like 50 or 100 times. Because when you really want like an insight or an awakening, you will put in like a lot of specific targeted work to get that insight because you care about it, because you want it, because you're obsessed about it. It's almost like part of the map that you haven't unlocked. Well, you got to unlock that part of the map, dude. Well, that's the fun thing to do. What you do next. And again, I'm kind of jumping all over the place here because this is very non-linear and very subjective in terms of this is my experience, okay? So what you might do next is you come back to your favorite teachers and just the people who you just resonate with the most, okay? And one of the best feelings is going back to like a teacher or a school and listening to them and actually understanding what they're saying. So you've gone away, you've got the insight, you've come back now and you're like, I'm going to listen to you with pleasure and with ease because I am not trying to figure it out. I'm just remembering it as you say it to me. It's like at some point you get it, or you get an insight, or you get an awakening, and now you're just listening to kind of polish the insight or like, round off the edges of the insight or awakening. And of course, man, it goes way beyond this in terms of experiences and understanding. What I've shared today is just a mix of experiences I've had, and I've put them in a kind of order. I want you to know that what you can use me for and what you can use this channel for is like an intermediary between spiritual teachers and maybe you. It's almost like I can decode certain things, or as someone or something to kind of check, confirm, verify spiritual insight and awakenings. Because you might listen to a lot of stuff, and sometimes it's nice to hear a perspective that either not necessarily validates, but backs up your intuition that something is in fact true. Final thing, if you do want any support, man, via coaching or mentoring, I do offer those. You can see the link in the description. Otherwise, man, that's going to be it for me. I hope you've enjoyed this one, my friend. And as always, take care and peace.